Hello and welcome to the rather delayed second page of the memory book that we're having a go at making together. I hope you had a chance to have a go at the first page and that it's looking brilliant, and we're going to have a go at the second page today. So the second page looks a little bit like this. So I've got a front flap which has a pocket, and then when you lift it up, I've gone for a shaped pocket. So I'm going to show you how to make a shaped pocket. And then we have a second flap, and again I've put the shape to correspond with that one so that when they're looking like that you can see them. And I've put a belly band on this so that you can put some tags in your belly band, and then that opens up and our middle page again has a belly band, and I've put a tag in there. So that's what we're going to work on today. So find somewhere to put that, and I'm going to bring you down. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our actual page again, and take all my little bits off and my measurements. So we need 2 pieces of card. One is a simple 8x8 and one is an 8x9. And as we did before, we're going to score that twice at 1/2 inch along the long side. So the 9-inch side, I'm going to score at 1/2 inch. Now I'm using my trimmer and my scoring tool. Excuse me. If you don't have a trimmer and a scoring tool, just a pencil or something just to mark those 1/2 inch and then 1/2 inch again lines. So that gives you your actual page, and the 2 1/2 inch lines are what will help it lay flat. So we're going to go fold in towards you and then out away from you. So the first fold is in towards you, the second is out away from you, so that you end up with something that looks, you can see, that looks like that. I'm then going to turn it over and checking first that this still fits. Right way up. It still fits. It's not going to impact on the hinge, so I'm going to stick that to the back. So that's my first job done, and that's created my page. So let me just glue that onto the back there. So what you're doing is you're creating a page that is stronger than just one sheet. So this is a 240 weight card, and I'm adding another 240 weight. I'm going from the edge that I want to completely seal together to look like one piece of card, and then down the other 2 edges, and finally to the hinge, so that when you put it together it looks like one piece of card. And I'm just going to give this, and what this is doing is it's heating up the glue and making it stick more, because these pages do take quite a bit of weight, so you don't want these to come apart, so particularly down that seam there. So that's your second page created. This bit, when we come to make the actual book, is the bit that will fit in the book to create your spine, and will allow your book, because we've put the second fold in, to fold back flat. Okay, so that's done that bit. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to create that first page, and it's a really simple page, but I like belly bands because sometimes you don't want a lot on your inside page because otherwise it's going to bulk out a bit, but you also don't want it just plain. And a belly band allows you, or the person who's receiving this, to put as many photographs as they want in. You can put, well, as we said, anything you want to put in there, and it just holds it secure. Now, I have used a die for mine, but there is no reason why you just can't cut 2 strips, your patterned paper, 1/4 of an inch smaller than your black card, and you have a really good belly band. I have actually, as I said, used a die for mine, and it's the one I've used is a CoolKatz die, and they do some beautiful belly band dies, and I've chosen to use this one, which I can't remember what it's called. It's gone. It will come back to me. So my actual page here is 7.5 by 7, no, it's not, it's 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. So it's going to fit, and I know it's really hard to see on the black, but it's going to fit with a little border around the edge. You don't want it the same size, because if it doesn't match up, you've got bits sticking out, and you don't want bits sticking out. So 7 3/4 by 7 3/4, and I've cut myself a piece of paper at 7.5 by 7.5. And again, I've got double-sided, but I think I prefer that side, so I'm going to go with that side. So this is from the Graphic 45 Elegance range, and they're just beautiful papers. So I'm just going to go in there. When I make a memory book, I always like to use papers from a set of papers, because it saves you having to think about what colours go together. The people who have put your packs together, whichever company you use, have already done the hard work for you. So you can then just play about with what you want. So this is 7.25 by 7 1/4, so that once again you get a nice margin around the edge. So you're looking for that little tiny border around the edge, which is just going to help make your actual paper pop. I always make my pages in a dark colour so that it brings the colours that you're using out. Now your belly band, now as I say, I've used a die for mine, but you could so easily and very effectively just cut a strip of black, if black is what you're using as your base colour, and then a strip from your paper pad. Now with this strip, I had a choice between picking up the pattern that was there or going with just the plain side. And I've actually, I think, chosen to go with the plain side, but then with these particular dies you get a little bit on the top, and I was thinking I might just pick that pattern up just on the top bit. I think that's what I'm going to go for. So the thing with your belly band is it needs to fit exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it fit one side and just hang off the other side. It's better to have it too big to begin with, because then you know where you're going to put your inside bit. And actually, because I've gone with a die, I'm going to change the way I do that a little bit. So I'm going to stick this bit on first, because I've got a centre panel on this. So let me just put some glue on here, and I'm just going to stick this down onto here. And because I used a die, it's actually got a really nice little embossed edge that you can fit it into. And then I can see where my end is going to go, and is it going to be centered? I'm happy-ish with that, yeah. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit, I'm just going to trim that up slightly because it's just hanging over. I'm just going to turn that over. Trim that off. It's these little attention to detail that make the difference. And I'm going to stick that down with a little bit of removable tape just for a second. Get some. So I'm just going to stick that down just there so that I can then turn this over and trim from the other side. There we go. So I'm happy that that is now where I want it to be. So I'm just going to carefully remove my tape, and then I'm going to put a little bit of glue. I think we say about 1/2 centimetre or 1 centimetre, it doesn't matter, on that end. And I'm going to put the same on the other end. Now you could make it extra long and tuck it under, but I actually prefer to be able to see the end, and then just picking your halfway mark, make sure it's straight, and then just hold down either end like that. Just wait for the glue to dry. So I'm then going to put my little centre panel on. So, and again, you know, you don't need the dies. You can make a little centre panel. Whoops. So I'm just going to pop that on. A lot of glue on there for some reason. So put that on, and then I'm just going to put that onto there. Now, you could use foam pads, but because this is my inside page and I don't want a lot of depth to it, which is why I'm using a belly band rather than anything else, I then don't want to go and make depth by putting foam pads on it. So that then is the first part of this page created. Very, very simple. Belly bands are so useful. And as I say, there is no need for them to be to use a die. This is a CoolKatz die. CoolKatz do lots of different belly bands, but there's no need. You can, you know, just create your own strip and still create a really effective belly band. Okay, so now if we go here, the next thing we're going to look at is this page. And the thing about this page is it has got a pattern. And again, I have used a die for this, but there's nothing to stop you drawing and creating your pattern, drawing it on the edge of your page and doing it that way. So let me find papers that I'm going to use for this. So for this, I've gone smaller. I want my inside page to be a smaller page. So my actual card is 7 by 7.5. So although I want it to be a square, I need that extra 1/2 inch to create my tab so that it can tuck under. So again, I need my scoring board, and I'm going to score at 1/2 inch. Always, and I speak from experience here, if you're using one of these, just double check that it's the scoring board that you're going to use, the scoring tool that you're going to use. A number of times I've actually ended up cutting off 1/2 inch rather than scoring at 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to fold that over, and because I want a nice sharp crease, I'm just going to run it down with my bone folder, and then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to run it down that way, so I get a really burnished crease, so that when it's on the, because it's going to hook over the bottom there, it's going to look firm and sharp. Okay, so I'm going to use a die. As I say, you don't have to, you can create a template. I'm going to decide what I want on the front and what I want on the back. And I've already made my belly band, so I think, because I want my belly band on the front, I'm going to put this on the front. Remember, it's coming up, so your pattern wants to go with the hinge at the bottom, because this is going to come up like that. When it's come up, and it's always worth physically doing this, that side needs to go that way. So if you are doing a direction, if you've got a directional pattern, you need to make sure you know what it's going to look like when you open it. So it's opening from the bottom. So I've tucked my hinge underneath. So when it's this way up, I want my pattern going towards, and when it's the other way up, I want my pattern coming down. So I'm going to use a die to create my edge. My paper, by the way, is 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. So every single time you're going down 1/4 inch, which is what gives you that border. So this square is 7 by 7. So if you remember, we cut it at 7 by 7.5 and we scored at the half. So the square is 7 by 7, so the papers are 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. And what I'm going to do is on both sides, I'm going to push the top, which is where I'm going to put my die, so that they are level. So I'm not leaving any sort of border, and you'll see why in a minute. I'm putting them level. Now this would work as well if you've cut a shape template. You need to have those papers absolutely level. And to make sure they stay in place, I'm just going to put a bit of tape over the top, and I'm making sure I'm putting the tape on a bit that is going to be cut. So that's going to hold those in place. So this is the die that I'm using. It's again, it's a CoolKatz die, and it's this lovely shape here. I think this is the bat wing die. So I'm going to lay it, and I'm going to centre it as best I can. So this is 18. Now these dies are designed by crafters, so they have all the little things to help you. So you might be able to make out, don't know whether you can, but there's a little notch at the top there, and that is the centre point. So knowing that this is 18, I know that my centre point is going to be 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that is going to be my centre point. That's just moved slightly. Really important that your papers are level with the top. In fact, that paper isn't, that tape isn't holding it firmly at all. So let me just try it again. There we go. So count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's going to go there. And by lining up that notch to the top of my paper, I will show you in 1 second, I know that I'm exactly halfway. It's little things like that that will make your page look professional. So you want it exactly on the 9, and then I'm going to tape this down well, because if I've gone to all the trouble of making sure it's in the right place, I don't then want the die machine to move it. Okay, so if I show you what I've done, so it's taped so that it's right at the top, right in the middle. The papers are level with the card on both sides, and I'm ready to go. One of the things that I forget sometimes, and it's worth just saying, is you can do both sides together with the paper. The number of times I do the front and then realise I haven't done the back, and then I'm trying to line it all up. So if you have both sides of your paper on, whether you're using a die or a template or whatever you're doing, have both sides on before you start. and then you know that everything is going to line up. So I'm going to use my electric die cutting machine simply because got bits on there. The hand one, which I actually prefer, joggles the camera too much. So always make sure there's nothing on your plate before you start, because anything on your plate will emboss. I'm going to turn that round actually, because it's got those marks on it. Okay, so making sure one more time that everything is in the right place. Unfold your score line, and then I'm going to put the magnetic plate on first, just as another insurance against anything moving, and then the other plate's on, and I'm just going to run this through. I don't have to run it through very fast, it won't take many minutes. Okay, that should be far enough. And I'll just reverse it back because it gets very close to the tripod. So I'll just reverse it back. Okay. So with an electronic machine, the pressure is huge. So you do need to turn your plates, otherwise they will buckle very quickly and bend in one direction. So I'm now going to take this die off very gently. Come on. There we go. So let me just take the tape off, and then the die will come off much more easily. So I'll take that piece off. And take that piece off. I also find going through the electronic machine, the tape does stick much more. I should really have taken some of the stick off that before I started. So what you will find, this is all fallen apart, but what you will find is that it hasn't quite gone to the edges. So making sure I'm lined up before I do this, I'm just going to take away what I need to take away. There we go. And you can see it hasn't quite gone to the edges. So making sure it's still all lined up, I'm going to snip that end to the cut line. Okay, my scissors aren't particularly sharp. I think I might do these separately actually. Right, so still a little bit of glue, a little bit of tape on there, which didn't come off, so let's take that off. So I'm just going to snip that to the cut line so that that comes away. Snip this to the cut line so that comes away, and snip this to the cut line. You can see I've just not quite got that straight. There we go. So now your pieces, when you've finished, are up flush, but you've got quite a long bit at the bottom. But now if you pull them down, I do it from the back because you can see the white much better. You pull it down slightly, and you should be able to see you've got your nice margin at the top, which absolutely matches, because when you cut it flush. Okay, so I'm going to stick the back one on first, because that's right, it's going that way. I'm not doing anything else on that one. So you do have to think about how you're bulking things out. And sometimes just leaving a page for people to put their photographs on, make a collage on, whatever they want to do. Just go all the way around there, pop that on, and now move it down a little bit from that front edge to create your border. A bit of a rub. So you should be able to see now, once I pull it down from the edge, I've got that beautiful neat border. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing it with a die machine or whether you're hand cutting. If you do it that way and then bring it down a little bit, you will always get that perfect border. So then I'm going to put this one on the front. Oops. There we go. Put that on the front. Stick that on like that. Oh, I can see a little bit that needs trimming. This seems to be after I've finished that I see what needs trimming off. That's it. So I'll just trim that slightly. That's in place. Now, because it's been through the die cutting machine, it is a bit rimply at the moment, but it will sort itself out. So it's got a couple of ripples in it, but it will sort itself out. Okay, and then I'm just going to put my belly band on. So I'm keeping with the same die so that all the way through you've got that continuity. This time I think, yeah, I'm very much going to go with the plain side because this has got quite a lot on it already. So let me stick this onto here. And a lot of paper crafting in general, but memory books in particular, are about how you use colour and what goes and what matches and how to make the best of the beautiful papers that you've got. So I'm just going to pop this on here. And for this one, because I've got lots of pattern on here, I've got flowers, I've got the Eiffel Tower, I've got mannequins, I've got all sorts of things. I want to keep this very simple. So I'm just going to pop that onto there, like that. Okay. And then making sure I'm roughly where I want to be in the centre. I'm going to use a little bit of sticky tape just to hold it down. This non-permanent tape is brilliant for so many different things. And then I'm just going to trim that end and trim that end so that I've now got what I want on my page. Take off my tape, 1/2 inch or 1 centimetre, whatever you want to do, that side and that side. It's worth doing a little bit more than a thin strip because people are going to be putting things in and out. What you don't want is for it to be coming off. Now, I like that word elegance, so I'd quite like to keep that in, but that's going to go right over it. So I'm either going to have to go a little bit higher or a little bit lower. No, it's going to have to go over the word elegance. What a shame. Okay. Which does feel an awful shame because I do like that wording, but to be honest, it's better in the middle. So this page is now ready. So we're going to come back to our base page and a little bit of glue on the inside of the flap. And this one is coming up from the bottom. So I'm just going to attach it to the bottom. Make sure it's centered before I start pushing down on the glue, and then give it a really good hard stick down. Okay. we go. So that one is now done and finished and looking very elegant. So now we come to the top page, which is this page that's coming down here. The reason I have the top page coming down is because I don't actually want to use magnets if I can help it in this book. So I just wanted to make sure that if it's coming down, it's less likely to fall open. If you have it the other way, then every time someone opens the book, that's going to fall. Whereas if you've got that holding it in place, it is better. Okay, so start with my piece of card, which is 7.5 by 8. The 8 being so that I can do a score. And this time the score is going to go at the top. So 2-inch. Double check I've got my score. And I'm going to score down. So fold that over. Now the front is just going to be a very simple pocket. And I'm going to have that on the front. Just trying to decide whether I want that. No, actually I'm going to put that on the front. Simply because I want something that's going like that. I don't want the same pattern like that. So I want a different pattern. So actually that's going like that. Let's get it right. So I'm going to go with that pattern as being different to that one, I think. This is sometimes the thing that takes me the longest, actually deciding. No, I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with that. Okay, so having decided that was what I want, I'm going to have a plain pocket on the front. So I'm going, I've got a piece of black card at 7.5 by 3 3/4. So I now know I need to cut my pattern paper at 3.5, because if this is 3 3/4, I want 1/4 of an inch off the bottom here. So this needs to be 3.5 off the bottom. So take my scoring tool out and I want 3.5 inches off the bottom. Okay. So with this one, the fold is at the top. So you're going to have a piece stuck at the top. Then you're going to have your pocket, and we're going to put the pocket on. So the top piece of your card is going to go like this. And it's going to stick hinge at the top, and that's going to stick on there like that. Centre it up. Remember to leave your border. Then we're going to stick this onto this piece of card here. Like that. So that's going to stick on there. Remembering you need a border all the way around. And then I'm going to use the other glue because I want the even stronger glue, because it's a pocket, and you're going to go around side, bottom, and up the other side. So side, bottom, up the other side. And I say this a lot, less is more with glue. You do not need, particularly if you've bought a quality glue, you do not need much. And that's going to, again, I'm going to leave a little bit of a border at the bottom, just so that the pattern on the pocket, the word I'm looking for, is going to match up better. So a little bit of a margin at the bottom, and your pattern, you should be able to see, so you've got the flowers matching up, you've got the stand for that, and you've got the Eiffel Tower coming up in the background. It all keeps that same pattern. So that is going to go down like that. So this piece needs to go up. So I've chosen myself my piece of paper for the background. Now I am doing a pocket on this. Let me show you. So I am doing a pocket on this one, but because it's going to be a pattern, so it's going to be a shaped pocket, I'm not going to take it from this. So I'm going to put the whole of this piece down. Lose that. So I'm going to stick the whole of that piece down like that. So I'm going across there, making sure it's the right way up. So it's going down. So when it folds up, it needs to be that way up. I'm only stressing this because so many times I've got that bit wrong. Okay, give that a really good press down. And then I've cut myself a piece of card. It's 7.5. Let me just make sure, because I haven't written this one down. It's 7.5 by 4. And then I've cut myself a piece of pattern paper at 7.25 by 3 3/4. So again, I'm looking to have that margin around the outside. So because this is a highly patterned piece, I don't like that. So I'm going to go with the plain pink, I think. Yes, I'm definitely going to go with the plain pink on this one. So because you only need this on one side, it's a pocket. Again, because we're having a shape, we're going to bring that up, line it up exactly with the top, and just tape it to hold it in place. And then going to bring our die, or if you've made yourself a template, so it's at 19 this time, so it's going to be 9.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9.5. Put your center notch if you're using a die at 9.5 and tape it down. Okay, so it's easier because you've only got paper on one side. It's easier and quicker to line it up. So I'm going to put it through our die cutting machine. So just run that through. As soon as I can see it, I know it's cut because I put it right at the top. So that's coming back through there. Okay, so turn that over, flip everything around. Take this off here, carefully take the tape and the die off, and then using your scissors, which are around, there we go, somewhere. Okay, I think again I'm not going to try and cut through all three, so let me just untape this bit. Okay, let's just get that off. And I'm going to, so you can see it's not cut right to the edge. So I just need to carry on the cut so that I get it to the edge, and the same on here. Carry on the cut until I get it to the edge. And then as before, when you did it, you lined it up. So all you're going to do is just pull it down a little bit so that you get your border. So I'm just going to put some glue on that. All the way around. Just the middle. Pop that on, straighten it up. Beautiful. Okay, and then it's a pocket, so it's the side, the bottom, and the side. Always make sure you go right up to that top bit there, and then that is going to go on there. Make sure you don't go over the hinge. Just double check that. That's going to go on there like that, and I'm going to give that a really good burnish. And this side. Okay. So now we're ready to put this on to the top. So again, we're going to glue on the inside of the flap. Oops. It will come out, there we go. So I'm going to glue on the inside of the flap, a little bit more, because it's got quite a weight to hold. Okay, you never ever need much glue, but sometimes you do need that little bit more. Line it up, make sure it's where I want it before I press the glue down. So we should have just a little bit either side, and pop the glue flap down. Give it a good burnish. And then the whole thing will glue onto the front of your page that we made right back at the beginning. So again, I'm going to use the heavy duty glue because it's got quite a lot to hold. So all the way around the edge. Oops. And to look at black on black, it's quite hard. And then I'm putting quite a bit of glue on there, as you can probably see, because I want it to hold, and there's quite a lot of weight to hold. And then that goes on to the page. Make sure it's not onto the hinge. Make sure you've got a little bit of a border all the way round. And then I usually find it's easier, open it up so that you're just pressing on the bottom page, which is the one that's got the glue. Remove any glue that's come out. Just give it a really good rub. Turn it over, give it another really good rub, because you want this to stick firm. And there you have your next page. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you're following along and having a go at home. If you are, please put a little picture or a comment on to tell me. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.